some extent, but not as much. We've had some social research. We've done some social research ourselves. And the only problem we have is with the truthfulness. Like you said, you'll get the appropriate answers from most of the respondents. For us, it's age specific. You get some responses, usually from the younger respondents, but the older ones are a bit more reserved.
So you have a challenge with truthfulness, but how do you solve that? How do you go about? Because you already know it before you start. So what do you do in either your research design or your research techniques to overcome this?
We just try to make it as close to them as possible, because there's that limitation. There's a feeling by the older respondents that we don't understand them. We don't come from the same place. Their cultures, our cultures are different. So we just try to bridge the gap by letting them know that we understand where they're coming from, and the research is for them. So
what do you do? Let's go out. On one day you go out for research. What do you do to get close to them?
We usually use respondents who are closer to them in age, and people who actually understand the local settings, which boundaries not to cross, and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you deliberately select your interviewers or your data collectors to match the demography of the group you're researching?
We are researching on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you guys work like that as well? Do you recognize this challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you usually have to. I mean, people that know the context are the best to explain that context as well.
But you also mentioned we have a lack of talent and skill on the floor. So how do you find these people? How do you recruit these people?
Every company has a pool of interviewers that they work with. There's no one company will say, okay, I have 500 interviewers just for myself. Mm-hmm. So the question becomes, what does local agencies or the industry national association do in order to empower the people, let them understand the value of research they are doing? Okay. So that is specific in every country. For example, in Nigeria, we have a Nigerian Market Research Association. Incidentally, I'm the Secretary General. So we have launched a program that periodically train the interviewers and supervisors, because I mean, data does not have value if the collection does not have value. You know, so every company has to define its quality control, which is fine, okay, because it depends on who you are dealing with. Any supplier can mess up your job. So, but if you have a very strong quality control measures according to the peculiarity of the project, then you can get the best out of that. Yeah. So the training of the interviewers and the field team, and because it starts with data collection actually. So it's a garbage.
And are you saying the pool of talent is big enough? We just need to train them, but there's plenty of people.
We have. You see, the thing is that we have youth population. I mean, under 40% of African population is under 35.
Exactly.
But then another challenge is that what are you going to do with the population? You need to train them. You need to set the goal for them. You need to make them have direction. Otherwise, it becomes a bad luck for you.
Exactly.
I think definitely there is a large pool of talent. What there isn't necessarily is a large pool of ready, skilled, trained, formally trained individuals. So that's why being there for a longer amount of time, using people over and over again, providing training, providing feedback is extremely important, and that's how you develop that capacity also.
And would you say that doing research in Africa in this case means that you focus much more on training and development of your staff than you would in other countries, because there's a formal education in place, or is that typical?
I couldn't really comment on doing it elsewhere,
exactly,
but of course staff capacity development is a huge part of what we do.
Yeah.
So let's focus a little bit on the opportunities of doing research in Africa, because as I said, currently, and we'll learn more about that soon when we talk about the Global Market Research Report with Ray Pointer in about 10 minutes, but they're currently about 1% of the revenue of market research comes out of Africa. So you could either say there's no market research in Africa, or you could say there's a huge opportunity. How do you feel? What are the opportunities?
I don't agree with you. There are a lot of opportunities. What happens is this. The African continent is being underreported, okay, and we have to make this point very, very clear here. We have not told our story. When we begin to tell our story, we find that the world will understand, because Africa is a virgin land. So, but we also need the outside world, to help us to develop. Okay, right now you also know that the association, African Market Research Association, is come on board, AMRA. So, and it's an association of associations. We want to use that platform to develop our continent, because we have to tell the people what we want.
Well, okay. That's why you guys are here, right? Tell the story. You're in Africa. Yeah. So tell us, a virgin land, you say. So what are the opportunities? Why should we all move down and open our branches or put our research in Africa?
Yeah, number one is that we have youth population.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to understand youngsters,
yes, we want to understand not only youth. I mean, for every economy, there are some driving for labor is the issue. So we don't have problem with that. Okay. So and there are also we have challenges in terms of government not actually participating in real research. Okay, because most of the time, find the high percentage of the market research done in Africa is by maybe multinationals and all the rest of that. So we are reaching out to the government, our local governments, to start to use research in order to make decisions that help the populace that they govern. So it's a big challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
Opportunity too. And how's that in your experience? What are the key opportunities?
I mean, there are opportunities in a lot of different places. I think it's just a lot of it is a matter of perception as well. In a sense, this narrative, this old aid narrative that it's development money going in rather than businesses going. And of course, there's a lot of challenges in terms of political stability, for example. Where security of your investments may be sometimes difficult, but I think definitely there's a ton of opportunities. Lots of markets, a lot of population.
What could be an opportunity? What do you say is the biggest opportunity that this industry is leaving on the ground?
Let me give you an instance. In the last 10 before now, 10 years ago, you see the average tele density in Nigeria is 0.65. Okay, in 2001, the first telecom company came into Nigeria, and there was an explosion. I mean, telecom contributes more than 80% of the GDP in Nigeria. So it's a big opportunity. So you see, what happens is that now we talk about mobile research. Every company, so many of them, we have about 4 major telecom providers. And the same thing can also happen in Kenya, like have the Safaricom and Vodafone and all the rest of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a big opportunity that not only for the youth, for the whole entire continent. That the oil issue has now become a second something, because oil in my country contributes less than 10% of the GDP.
Exactly. So it's a young, modern society that is the virgin land, as you say. How is that in Kenya? What opportunities do you see in Kenya?
I think in my case, we have a growing middle class, and with it comes a lot of opportunities. People are not looking at the traditional white-collar jobs and so on. People are venturing on their own, and I can say with that comes the opportunity for research. But like he said, our governments are not consuming research as much, so there's still a gap. Yeah, if we can reach out to them, then if they can come on board, I think that would be a good thing.
Take the camera.
Yeah.
You can reach them.
That would be a very good opportunity for us.
Because maybe that's not so obvious for all of you, but why is it important if you say we got a venturing, young, vibrant society, but the government is not why is that government support so important?
It is important because with the lack of government support, I don't think you can do much. We've done personally, I've done some research for government, and it's not consumed. Like, we'll give them feedback on stuff that they need to know, but they don't consume it. So you can imagine what happens to the smaller industries. They don't see the value of the research.
And that might be a risk to the whole public perception of market research,
exactly,
right? Because I can only ask you twice, and if you don't use it, why would I do again?
Yeah, but I think that why government is also very, very key is that government is everywhere in the world. Government is a high consumer, okay, compared to other. Number two is that they make the policies. Okay, for example, I don't know anywhere in Africa where you have data protection,
Data Protection
Act. Okay, so I mean, this is a great challenge. And these are the things that the outside world will look forward to. They want to know how their data is protected. So it now depends on the National Association to make an inroad in order to make these things established. Okay, so the government is also very, very key because, I mean, apart from spending, they also can influence policy. They can tell the people, and then change the way they have to set the agenda.
Exactly, and create a playing field where the market research field can professionalize. And do you, in your current countries, do you see that happening? Is there at least a movement in that direction? Is there talk about data privacy? Is there talk about, what is the current status?
Yeah, we in Nigeria, let me speak about my country.
Yeah, of course.
We at NIMRA, Nigerian Market Research Association, we have mapped out a lot of things. First of all, we are working with the government agencies like the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics right now, okay, because there has to be a standardized LSM, for example. The lifestyle measurement. Yep. Okay, so where you have different companies, using different LSM, they create a lot of problems. So we try as much as possible to reach out to government agencies and then kind of try to see partnership with them in order to influence how things are being done.
Exactly. And because you're very vivid, of course, because you're the Secretary General of this association. Is there a local association in Kenya as well, pushing the market research industry forward and talking to government?
Yeah, we have the MSRA, in conjunction with the Communications Act of Kenya. Yeah, so they're also, I think, working together towards that.
All right, and how is that in your part of Africa, in Sudan? Are we that far yet, or is that...
Not that far yet. I think
No.
nascent, there's definitely a lot of interest in building such capacities, but so far I think mostly in rhetoric still.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you found this somewhat valuable as a peek into what market research can be like in other parts of the world. Did you want to make a final comment?
Yeah. In February next year, we are going to organize the first ever Africa Market Research Association Forum in Johannesburg. So we are reaching out to everybody, all the national associations across the world to come.
Take camera.
And,
this is your advertisement.
And come and help us. We want to develop the continent and make it more vibrant. Okay, so that we can reach out to every.
So just to be super clear, what is the date?
February 17th to 19th. Okay. I'm not sure.
February 2015, Johannesburg.
17, yes.
There's a big African Conference on Market Research. This is an invitation.
So we invite everyone to come and join us. This is a new dawn for African market research, and we want to reach to the global world in that.
All right, Paul. Well, this is taking opportunity. Thank you very much. Tabitha, thank you for being here. Eric, thank you very much for sharing your experiences, and have a great conference.
Thank you.
Hey, and with that.